Becoming a UFC champion is one of the hardest things any human can do. It's a lot harder if you have only one eye. But that's exactly what this man did. Michael the Count Bisping. He grew up in England just outside of Manchester. And the only thing he wanted to do from a young age was to be a fighter. And he was damn good at it too, because he amassed a 14-0 undefeated record. And it wasn't too long before he went on to go fight in the UFC, which is the top fighting organization in the world, where Michael made a name for himself for being one of the most disciplined and one of the toughest fighters in all of the world. And in 2013, Michael Bisping was given the chance to fight Vitor Belfort, who was a very well-known user of steroids, specifically testosterone replacement therapy, which at the time was not banned in the UFC. And when it was banned, you can see how much of a difference it had on Vitor Belfort's body. Michael Bisping went in there knowing he was going to fight a guy who was going to be using steroids, but Bisping is not the kind of guy to back down from a fight. And unfortunately for Michael Bisping, he lost the fight via head kick. And even worse news for Bisping, that head kick would detach the retina in his right eye. And over the next year, he would go on to lose the eye completely. But regardless, Michael Bisping kept fighting in the UFC, even though he had only one eye. And in a fast-paced sport like fighting, having only one eye is one of the biggest disadvantages you can have. Fast forward a few years later, 37-year-old Michael Bisping knew his career was going to come to an end soon. He was still looking to be the champion, but to be the champion, you gotta beat the champion. And in Michael Bisping's weight class, the champion was a man named Luke Rockhold, who was scheduled to fight Chris Weidman. But 2 weeks before the fight, Chris Weidman pulled out with an injury. Michael Bisping offered to step in on 2 weeks' notice. Luke Rockhold had also beaten Michael Bisping a few years before, and he had a full fight camp. But Michael didn't care. He wanted to win that championship so bad, even if all the odds were stacked against him. Then on the night of the fight, in the first round, Michael Bisping knocked out Luke Rockhold and went on to become the UFC middleweight champion of the world, something he'd been chasing his entire life. Today, Michael Bisping is 43. He still works for the UFC, only now as a commentator. And this beer here might be one of the most well-deserved beers ever drank by any human being.